podcast. This is episode 4. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. We do have a special episode today. We have therapist Noel Curry, who's actually my little sister, joining us today. She's going to discuss some topics about mental health, and we'll just discuss some issues that you might have, and hopefully answer any question that you have. If you have any further questions, just let us know at the end of this podcast. Leave them in the comments section. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's bring in Noel Curry.
Save lives. Book your CPR certification today. For more information, go to jcworkouts@gmail.com.
Once again, please warm welcome Noel Curry.
Hi.
How's it going, sis? Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So yes, I'm actually in Houston. I made a trip out here to visit sis and record this podcast as well. So we want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeed. And as you mentioned to me, it is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. So we just kind of want to dig into a few things, just kind of touch on what the importance is of mental health as it applies to health in general.
No, I think mental health is extremely important, right? Mm-hmm. Everything that we do, it starts with our mind.
Right,
so
right.
To work through your mind and through your emotions first, I think it will help open up a space for being physically fit, and just a whole host of, healthy habits and healthy lifestyle.
Okay, that sounds good. So, definitely we know, especially when it comes to fitness, weight loss, especially if you're an adult, you got to think you've had all these habits that you built up on, and these ideas that you kind of think that you got to kind of break to get through those barriers. So that is a mental issue that we got to kind of be aware of, that you have to attack and address before you can even go to that next level. So what do you kind of think some things that people can do to kind of help their mental health in preparing?
Well, I would say go to a therapist.
Yes.
I love that, a lot of people, since other athletes have been talking more about mental health, we've seen that at the Olympics, through, several different athletes have been talking about mental health and the importance of going to a therapist. Even if you don't have, a history of trauma or anything specific that you're dealing with, just getting that another perspective, I think, is really helpful. I always talk about going outside too, because the sun provides a lot of nutrients for us. So that's really important. And definitely working out too, because that helps you to get engaged with your body, and so kind of create that mind-body connection.
Absolutely,
it's really important.
Absolutely. And I can definitely relate. Being a formal athlete, I've had days where you had something outside going on, maybe, and it's going to affect you regardless of how long you've been playing. It's all a part of the connection, So if you got something mentally going on, I think it's really important to take care of that before you get out on the field or out into life into doing anything, really. So just taking care of yourself mentally, because it really makes a difference in the way you go about your life, just in general.
There's a book that people could read. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And so it talks about how our bodies carry with us our stories. So if you talk about weight loss and fitness, sometimes the weight isn't actual necessarily the food. It's from stress, it's from anxiety, it's from past trauma. So the weight sometimes is even heavier than what you're seeing in the mirror. It's a lot of pain. So I think it's important to definitely make sure you have that connection with your body and you taking care of your mental health, because it has a huge impact on pretty much all the aspects of your life.
I agree 100%. So as far as taking care of it, maybe of course they have to seek professional help, but maybe you can give a small simple tip for people to kind of maybe self-check their mental health if they're going about their day.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard. Some people don't even realize that they are experiencing something, because a lot of things are normalized, right?
Very true.
there are some unhealthy relationships that are normalized because your mom and dad had an experience and it just looks normal. Sometimes stress. I think a lot of people have kind of checked in with themselves a little bit more with the stress situation because I think during the pandemic, people realized how much they were working, how their lives were just kind of crazy, and we were all being forced to sit down
be still.
on the couch.
Exactly.
And that can get uncomfortable sometimes.
You got to face a lot more things, I think.
When you're used to like just going, having distractions, having this, having that, and then it's kind of like, oh, I actually am not happy, or I'm really stressed, or whatever is going on. So I would say maybe if you can slow down, that might help your process of understanding if there's something going on internally.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think another thing, because I go to counseling myself. It's something I do normally, just like exercising. I think people should kind of take that approach too. Don't just wait and be reactive for something to happen. Kind of just make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're gathering tools. If you've never been to therapy, you won't get certain tools. Just like if you never went to school, you won't get certain tools you will have learned had you have gone. So I think it's important that people kind of use this as a regular process, just like working out, regardless if it's once a month, once a week. Just make sure you build some type of habit where you're trying to build up your mental health as well.
Yeah, and I've had some clients who I've seen throughout this, pandemic who are just like, I don't know if there's anything really going on, but I just want a deeper understanding about myself. So that's perfectly fine to go to a therapist and just get that outside perspective from a professional who can help you to maybe see like some blind spots, or just help to reflect, positive things. It's good to talk positive things too. So I generally when there's improvements or
that's good.
Something good is happening in their lives too.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's real important. Definitely. Try to celebrate those wins. That kind of can be built up onto a different win. I think it helps positively motivate people too. So therapy is not just I guess unloading all your problems. Sometimes you want to know like where your wins are so you can build up on that, I think too. So that makes sense. Right. So Noel, what are some things you can relate healthy relationships with as far as your mental health? How would that kind of affect or play a part in you reaching your goal or just in general?
Yeah, I think really, so we're, communal creatures, right? We need community, we need other people, which is great when you have a personal trainer that is someone who, is helping to root you on, so you can achieve your goals, and a therapist to help you achieve your mental health goals and et cetera. But the relationships that we have with people, I think, affect us in a huge way. I always talk about like some of the pillars of life are our relationships, our housing, and our jobs, because those are the three things that kind of motivate us, that get us inspired, that make life, I think, more meaningful. So if you are having some issues in one of those aspects, including relationships, I think it can have it can be difficult to deal with. So that causes a lot of stress sometimes for people. Sometimes people don't feel as motivated. So I think if you can work on your relationships and even just getting connected, like with a personal trainer, right? Or getting connected with a therapist, might help to motivate some of those areas. Because I think we need to feel a sense of control in our lives. And so if, something feels out of control, like one of those areas, we can at least emphasize one of the other ones. So, maybe relationships would be one that you can focus on.
That makes sense. And just you mentioning control, what better way to kind of regain that control than hiring a professional. If you're having mental issues out of control, I mean, help get control with that. Even your physical issues, of course, get you a trainer, someone that's going to put you back in balance and get you back where you need to be. I mean, speaking of relationships, I know, like some people, like if there's always a relationship issue, I mean, sometimes again you got to kind of self-check yourself. That's why it's good to have that accountability person and see where you're going wrong in these relationships too, because sometimes it could be something you're so used to you don't even realize it, and you might be the problem. Lo and behold, so I mean, I think that's really a good issue to attack for sure. And one thing I know, especially with the pandemic, just what do you feel about like ghosting? I mean, it's I've never like people like you can mention something and people are just complete disregard communication. I mean, if they don't want to face it, that's the thing I've really faced more than anything in the pandemic. Have you faced that at all? Ghosting at all, or?
I mean, I think people ghost, right? Like people can ghost in different ways. They're ghosting in relationships. They're ghosting in, I had a few people ghost me in my sessions. I'm like, okay, well, where you at? Where you
at? Just communicate. Let me know.
And I think some of that with the therapy is that fear. I've had some clients, I'm like, they're all excited. They're talking about, okay, I can't wait to start.
And then you gotta face
session. It's like, ooh. And I've had a client tell me that it takes a lot for them to come into the session. So I understand that it's really vulnerable. Essentially, you are talking to a stranger about really deep personal issues that you're going through.
Right.
And so I always try to be really sensitive to that, of course, right? So, ghosting. That would be if you're a ghoster, you might want to talk to a therapist, really. Because what is that?
That's,
what are you running away from?
That's really running away from either a conversation or just an issue that you might have. So I mean, it's really coming down to you facing your issues. I mean, at the end of the day, and not running away from those, and just trying to face it head on.
And what would that look like to face all your issues?
I mean, it's work for sure.
It's work. And that's the thing. I think some people, again, if we talk about why you're ghosting in the first place, are you feeling overwhelmed?
Right.
If you're ghosting, you might need to take a step back and reevaluate the people that you're interacting with, why you're interacting with them, your communication skills, what's coming up for you, because all that goes first. It's just not nice, and and it could be speaking to a deeper issue that's going on.
That makes a lot of sense for sure. So what are some other issues that you've seen, especially facing the pandemic? Has things kind of changed for you as far as you visiting your clients?
Yes, so I'm strictly online for right now. So that is, a different world, but I love it. I love being online. And it's convenient. I mean, it is convenient for me, but it's also convenient for my clients. I've had people, in their car, right? Like people who maybe can't get away from the house, but they can get away to the grocery store. So if they say they've been at the grocery store, then that's okay, right? So it creates an opportunity to maybe talk to a professional when they didn't have that opportunity before. So maybe there's some safety concerns or something.
Okay.
So it's been great.
That
part of it. There's a lot that's been challenging, of course.
Well, there's some challenges you've had through it all.
Also online is a challenge. So with me, I have to take breaks. To make sure I'm not constantly in front of a screen. And I want to be my best self when I show up for my sessions and for my clients. So probably the same thing that's great is another thing that's a challenge, but that's life.
All right, Noel. So another topic, why do you feel it's so hard for people to kind of stick to those goals and they don't succeed on them? What kind of mentally is that block? Of course, it's going to be general because everybody's different, but what do you think is like a reason people just don't push forward,
Yeah. I think sometimes we it might be good to check why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, the reason why. Okay.
So I think if it's enough of a why, it might help to push you to, be successful in that area. Sometimes again, like there are other things that are, maybe in the way, like a past trauma or something that, you haven't dealt with. And I think too, what I see with a lot of clients is, as we talk about relationships, thinking about, yes, having like someone who's going to help you to be accountable.
Right.
But also sometimes people just aren't very kind to themselves.
Yeah.
And so the way we talk to ourselves has a big impact on how we feel, what we feel like we can do.
Right.
So even with the topic of relationships, the most important relationship you have is with yourself.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so practicing self-compassion, giving yourself a little bit of grace. Like this is
Yeah.
a new endeavor. You're trying to lose, 50 pounds. You're trying to get in shape. It
Right.
takes a lot of dedication.
Commitment.
And
yeah,
commitment.
for sure. And that's a good point to mention, though, as far as people beating themselves up, because I see it all the time, especially someone trying to lose weight
Yeah.
and referring themselves back to their high school weight, or even trying to compare themselves with somebody else. I think we just really have to give ourselves some grace. Build yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. You're in this position now, so I mean, don't dog yourself out. Just figure out what you need to do to kind of build yourself back up. And I mean, telling yourself negative words and just kind of downing yourself, that's not going to really help you at all. So I mean, just look at the goal, and I think you should focus on that goal, and like you said, the why, the reason for it, and just let that stay positive and just keep building up on that, and don't let these negative thoughts or anything you're telling yourself kind of pull you back from that. So I think that's a good mention.
Yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge thing. Again, kind of what we said at the beginning is how, you know, how all of these things kind of start with your thoughts, how you
Right.
think about yourself. And now there are some other things that get in the way, and I think that's why it's important to go to a therapist. So, I mean, sometimes people do just say negative things about themselves,
Right.
and it's become habitual. Sometimes people are dealing with depression.
Yeah,
Sometimes
very
people are
true.
dealing with anxiety. They've got a lot of fear.
Right.
And so, being able to get that support to help in one area, I think will help in, a multitude of other
Yeah,
areas.
absolutely. And I think just keep continuing to tell yourself positive things. Will just make your situation become positive. Hopefully, I mean that's the goal. So you don't want to drag yourself in that negative pool again, like we were saying. So I mean, just stay positive, stay uplifted. Make sure you're around positive people, like we were mentioning, your surroundings. Just make sure you have good accountability, so you can kind of stay in aspects of your goal, what you're trying to reach. All right, so next question, probably our last one. What are some ways or things we can do to kind of replace these negative thoughts that we have of ourselves, like we were speaking of, or even replacing some of these negative habits?
Yeah. I think one thing that you can incorporate is positive affirmations.
Right.
So I know, it might sound simple, but what we say to ourselves really does impact how we feel about ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And then that impacts our behavior. So, if you do say more positive, it doesn't have to be something way out there that doesn't feel tangible or doesn't feel real. It could just be, I'm worthy.
Right.
I can do this. I can do the hard things.
Right.
I'm special. Just something that feels like it resonates with you
Right.
and can feel real and can feel like you can accomplish whatever that affirmation is.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What about like the habits? Like, say say you already recognize you have a certain bad habit, but it's really hard to break. What's one way someone could break one of these old habits that they build up for years and years?
Well, they say that if you do something for 30 days, it can become a habit. So
Okay.
you might just need to start small, right? Sometimes we have these big goals in January 1st, we're gonna
Of course.
do this, do that, and then by the middle of the month even, or by the next month, it's falling off, and it's like, all right, I'll start again next year. It's like, hold on a minute, you've got the whole year.
Yeah.
So just do something small, and even if you don't achieve the big goal, you'll be a little bit closer than you were last year, or probably the year before that, right? Like sometimes we make these same goals, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be in between, and being okay with that.
Yeah, as long as you're kind of inching yourself toward that goal, you know. I feel that is important. Just making progress. That's what it's about too. I think you just don't want to be in the same place that you were in. So I mean, as long as you see that progress can push you through the next level even, so you can become closer and closer to that goal you're trying to reach. And then essentially you're breaking old habits anyway, so you probably leveled up in your mental health at least, if nothing else.
Yeah. You know? And we have to remember that this is our life, and this is a journey. It's not a sprint. It's not a full marathon. This is a whole journey, right? So if you can just take 2 steps, 1 step, you know, that is something towards where you want to be.
Absolutely. And with that said, we just got to really be careful once we're in that journey, you know, trying to reach a goal. Don't do these things that you know are going to set you back. Like those bad habits, like say you got an ice cream problem, you know, don't go to the store buying up ice cream thinking you're not going to eat it because now you're working out. So I mean, it's all about kind of replacing those old or bad habits, you know, with those positive ones that's going to help you push forward on that goal too.
Yeah, set yourself up for success.
That's it.
The best way you can.
Absolutely. Set yourself up for success. So, thank you very much, Noel. We're going to close it out here. We appreciate your time. We thank you for joining us on the Healthy Conscience Podcast. Did you have anything else before we go? Or?
Definitely just want to encourage people to get plugged in, to have someone who can, you know, help support you, whether it is a therapist, which I would recommend, or, you know, someone that you can trust to start at least, and they might help you to get to that next step. Again, it's just making that first step.
Right. So any bit helps, definitely. So guys, keep taking those steps positively. Speak to yourself positively as well, you know, and just make sure you're taking care of that mental health. Again, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So please do something just to get yourself to the next level on that, okay? So as always, guys, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you again to my beautiful sister, Noel.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thanks for
your
having
input.
me.
Absolutely. And guys, as always, please remain healthy. One moment, please. Excuse me. Conscience. Thank you, guys. Come back and check us out.
Bye.
Today's episode is sponsored by JC Workouts, fitness tailored for you.